Hey guys, Desolator Magic here. Still a little messed up in the throat. My gosh, I hate being sick. But this was highly requested by my comments section in my Discord. They want me to read the reason that Michael Majors is saying that he designed Nadu, Winged Wisdom. Ironically, not one of the wiser choices in design for Modern Horizons 3. In fact, making a Modern Horizons 3 was not very wise, after the first two both completely ruined multiple formats and resulted in multiple bans. They just keep making the same mistake. But remember, they're from Seattle and they're far left liberals, so I mean, what do you expect? Learning from their mistakes? Having a functioning brain, using logic, using past evidence to make future determinations. You're asking a lot. That's like asking a dog to paint you a picture, okay? It's just not in their nature. They can dig a hole real quick, but, they ain't gonna hand you the Mona Lisa. So let's jump into it. As lead designer of Modern Horizons 3, remember this is Michael Majors allegedly writing this, I wanted to weigh in on our decision today. Nadu Winged Wisdom was a design mistake. Woo! Starting off spicy. The community quickly identified in preview season. Yes, preview season. Spoiler time. Before the card was even out and playable, during the previews, they said, wait a minute, the combination of Shuko or Outrider and Core with Nadu could allow a player to draw their entire library. How could that be problematic, we wondered. No, just kidding. I gotta editorialize this a little bit. This is a little different than the scandal where, I think it was Aaron Forsyth. He had said, we don't play test standard for Modern. We don't do it. Standard is our product. Modern is just some little side fringe thing, okay? And this is back when Modern was huge, by the way. If the Eldrazi had an effect on Modern, whatever. We designed for Standard. We'll clean that up later, but we 100% designed for our main product. So that's how this happened later. 6 months later. In an interview, he somehow let it slip that they knew darn well what the impact would be of certain cards in the Eldrazi sets on Modern, and they just didn't care. The worst bungling of a card release in my entire history playing the game was the Eldrazi Winter. Because then they doubled down on, well, we can't rug pull everyone right before a tournament, and then the tournament was completely ruined by, I believe, 68% of people showing up with an Eldrazi deck. You couldn't play anything. You couldn't win with anything. It was mirror matches. Nobody was having a good time. Nobody was watching it. Nobody had any respect for the format of the game right after it. The worst card design mistake I have ever seen. However, I've only been playing since 2013, and I've heard of worse ones. Y'all old folks know Cawblade almost destroyed the entire game. So they've had some real gems. This time they're coming out and they're not like, whoa, we made a mistake, here's these excuses that are easily disprovable, and then somebody's going to accidentally leak the real information later. They just come out and say we screwed up. So people are like, ooh, they're learning, they're becoming bigger than they were before. Oh, hell no. I have been warned what they say at the end of this article and monitor punch warning. That's all I'm going to say. So as one would expect, many early lists were untuned, being either too fragile or using Nadu more as an afterthought than a primary game plan. Before Pro Tour MH3, Nadu was clearly a strong deck, but hadn't quite shown itself as bannable. As we know, the Pro Tour changed that. The best players in the world had the incentive to tune a deck for the highest possible upside, and they delivered. Whatever keeps them from cheating. Oh, I could just get free easy wins with this. Well, shoot. All right. They removed Thassa's Oracle from the deck and figured out how to handle any situation through a convoluted Endurance and Spring Heart Nantuko loop. Oh, so convoluted. That could effectively give Nadu players, or Nadu, my bad, infinite mana and the means to fight through any situation, including interaction and battlefield sweepers. Oh yes, the only thing worse than a glass cannon is a cannon made out of solid indestructible steel. Put that on a t-shirt. This loop required demonstrating a complicated series of game actions with a high number of permanents changing zones that resulted in extremely long turns. Well, this deck had everything going for it. The deck was beautifully built and a logistical nightmare. Oh, shut up. Don't praise the people who came up with garbage like this. It's half your fault, half their fault. The deck dominated the tournament with a 59% win rate. By the way, they ban cards at 56. Bare minimum. That is their stated threshold that they totally stick to 100% of the time. And Simon Nielsen claimed the Pro Tour trophy. Since then, it has performed worse. Well, yeah, if people build around it, but they shouldn't have to. Some of this could be attributed to the fact that the deck is objectively weaker in online formats. I don't see why that would be. Many players still resort to using Thassa's Oracle. I thought that was banned. A weak card outside of the combo once they've drawn their entire deck due to the endurance loop being unrealistic under an online timer. Oh, that's why. No shortcuts. You literally cannot click fast enough to do it. That makes sense. Despite that, it continues to be a prevalent part of the winner's metagame on Magic Online and is threatening to put up incredible numbers at RCQs. Removing another combination card like Shuko or Outrider Encore wouldn't solve the logistical problem that Nadu presents. Even at weaker win rates, Nadu leveraging Lightning Greaves or similar cards could still be problematic for the long-term enjoyment of tournaments, since it threatens to monopolize people's time, all while not being a fun or easy deck to interact with. There isn't a compelling argument to preserve the deck. Hold up. So all of that could be true, but if you had a really good argument to preserve the deck, you would ignore it and not ban it? That is sickening. What is wrong with you people? So that's how bad it went, in case you weren't paying attention, and based on Modern's play numbers, most of you weren't paying attention. I still to this day have no idea how the deck works. To me, the card says this ability triggers only twice each turn. I don't get how you draw your whole damn deck with it. I'm sure you do, I just don't follow decks like that enough to give a crap. But I'll take the word for it that it was that bad. Nadu went through almost all of Modern Horizons 3 development looking something like this. One generic, one green, one blue, legendary creature bird wizard, 3/4 flying. You may cast permanent spells as though they had flash. Whenever a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield, otherwise put it in your hand. Nadu was a powerful option against interaction and a part of various banned mid-range strategies throughout our testing. See, then they pigeonholed it into that. They forget that people build more creative stuff than that. But it wasn't something that our group perceived as much more than a role player. Okay, let me back this up. Aaron Forsyth said that he thought that Coco, Collected Company, one of the most egregious free casting piles of shit in the entire history of the game, he thought would just be a dumb filler card. He thought, it's a fringe card somebody might run in some kind of tribal, I don't know. That's the level of competence in knowing the game and like logical this works with that pattern recognition of the people that work there. Of the most experienced people who work there. So Modern Horizons testing works differently than the standard testing, which is the FFL Future League. It's their stupid nickname for the idiot play testers who really don't know what they're doing. For both Modern Horizons 2 and 3, we brought in a small group of contractors and worked on the set in a dedicated sprint as a collaboration between that group and a small number of play designers. So in other words, they rushed it and they lowered the number of people because who cares? Ah, yes, we can really see how you put so much more effort into playtesting standard, clearly. The playtesting time is more dense, so are the workers, as the group is singularly focused on the set without other responsibilities, but shorter in terms of weeks. Oh, God help them if they read a mean tweet on Twitter and have to take 3 mental health days, because I heard they do that there. Dude, these lefties are so lazy and so low information, so unintelligent, while thinking exactly the opposite. They think they know everything. Unbelievable. Stop hiring people just like you. I'm just going to say it. Whatever they're paying these people, it's too much, and they're the wrong people. It's a bunch of pro players and stuff. Nah, you're getting off on the wrong foot, okay? From the department of It Takes One to Know One, remember, autistic software engineer here, I just have a very high natural talent bordering on an obsession when I was younger of patterns and seeing patterns everywhere. Everything is patterns. Then I get into high school, find out I'm very, very, very unnaturally good at programming, and I'm like, cool, I can make some money doing this. Right out of college, wrote some software for ESPN that is still in use to this day. Version 1.00. Never needed a patch. The code is perfect. Look at the last video game or the last Microsoft piece of software you use. Does that strike you as perfect? England figured this out in the early 2000s. If you want software done right, you gotta hire an autistic person because nobody else is good enough. Human brains aren't good enough to do that. We're not built to do it. but some of us are. But I suspect that WOTC's like, oh, I don't know, socially awkward people? Oh, I don't really want to hire them. Yeah, they get good results, but like, ew. How many autistic people? How many pattern-obsessed people who could read the card and instantly tell you this is what's wrong with it and these are the different interactions because their subconscious just already solved it for them whether they wanted it to or not? How many of them are on the crew? Not enough. Next time you throw a little magic tournament thing, okay, have it also be like a furry fest and an IT convention at the same time, okay? Then just start handing out cards. Just be like, do you like patterns? Are you really good with math and logical interactions? Want a job? Oh, you get the whole damn army. You get a whole bunch of my people. Now, I'm not saying, oh, hire me. They should have hired me, and I'm so butthurt. One, I'd never, ever work for WOTC under any circumstances for any amount of money. Two, I'm 37. I'm too damn old. Your brain stops working at about 30, okay? I'm really pushing it. A lot of that natural talent is faded away. I don't ever sleep, and for medical reasons, I can't have caffeine anymore. That's a lot of strikes against me, okay? I'm not willing to come in and just mix Adderall with ephedrine and pretend like I'm still 20, okay? It ain't gonna happen. Plus, there are people a lot better than me. Replace your entire crew with one Ryan Evan Cadrian. There you go, you got a perfect game. That guy's brain works faster than my computer, but he makes me look like I have social skills. And those of you who have come to the various fan meetups clearly know I do not. I am 10 times more awkward without editing. Where the hell are those people? Why don't you hire the most qualified people for the job who can do it the most? And then I realized, oh, that's right, lefties don't really do that. Look, I'm sure you can find a black gay autistic person to do the job too, okay, if that's all you give a shit about in your stupid hiring. But then again, I remember you don't actually hire black people, so what are you doing over there? Who are you hiring? They got a bunch of pro players. They don't know shit. It's like, yeah, they could brute force them. They'll get there eventually if you give them enough time, which circles back to they didn't give them enough time. And then on top of it, they're not the type of people who should be doing work like this, all right? Either get a computer to do it for you or get a human computer to do it for you. One of my people, all right? Holy shit, it's not that complicated. So then they go back in and say after the play testing, there's a series of last minute checks of the sets by various groups, probably more qualified than the first ones. This is the normal operating procedure for every release. It is a series of opportunities for folks from various departments and disciplines to weigh in on every component of the project and give final feedback. That actually generally, the sentiment of that and the strategy of that is actually really smart. It sounds like it was maybe too late then, but they say in one of those meetings, there was a great deal of concern raised by Nadu's flash granting ability for commander play. After removing this ability, it wasn't clear that the card would have an audience or a home. Oh, boo-hoo, one card doesn't hit. Who cares? Better safe than sorry is my strategy. Something that is important for every card we make. You're wrong. You are completely wrong. Ultimately, my intention was to create a build-around aimed at commander play, which resulted in the final text. I missed the interaction with 0 mana abilities that are so problematic. You forgot that spells cost 0. This is why you need to hire an autistic person. You sit me down in front of a freaking word scramble, I will have that thing solved as quickly as I can write. At the last one, at my parents' Christmas party, I literally got accused of cheating and having inside information. So I had someone pull it up on their phone and I solved 10 in 10 seconds. Some people just work a little different and you need to hire them. I think one of the first things in the first millisecond my brain would have said, what about 0 mana abilities? So the last round of folks who were shown the card in the building missed it too. That's because you don't hire the right people. We didn't play test with Nadu's final iteration as we were too far along in the process, and it shipped as is. Okay, if you read the text, it did not ship as is. It shipped with, it can only activate twice per turn. Okay, so there's a little break in the narrative there. I want to go over some talking points and learnings, but before I do, I'll emphasize that despite the failings in process, ultimately the card was my responsibility as the lead designer of the set. The scope of risk. A lot of early buzz surrounding Nadu included comments like, why does it have 4 toughness? Or if it only triggered once, it would be okay. Exactly. And the most extreme being, did they put the quotations on the card in the wrong place? That's what you're worried about? As I've already gone over, the most obvious answer to things is typically the right one. That's a drastic oversimplification. So then they go on with this typical crap that they've been saying. Managing Modern Horizons set is walking a tightrope of risk. Ugin's Labyrinth and Chthonian Nightmare are examples of cards that we shipped with eyes wide open. Let me translate that. We got a power ramp or nobody will buy it, and once you power ramp too far, you have nowhere left to go, so we just left Nadu as a crazy interaction, and then oopsies. Boy, they stopped just short of telling us, and it's going to keep happening because of power ramp, because if we, for one set, one time, do a supplemental set that doesn't supplant everything before it on a power and strategy level, then you're not going to buy it, and we're going to get fired and lose money, and Papa Hasbro is going to be really mad because we're their piggy bank. So we have to keep ramping the power up, even though we didn't have to do that for like the other 27 years that we didn't do it for, and it worked just damn fine. Have they learned nothing from Yu-Gi-Oh! with the turn 1 wins? Boy, what a great decision to make standard 3 years and up the complexity and the number of cards you have to test it with. What a great idea that was. I wonder why nobody's playing it. So, yeah, they say there was a chance of those 2 cards going wrong, but they were deemed worth it to inject power and excitement into both lapsed and brand new decks. Yeah, whatever. You wanted to sell cards. We get it. Shut up. What a ridiculous way of polishing that turd and trying to pass it off as something we'd like. They give more examples of, whoa, we really pushed the power, but people love them. I don't care. Shut up, you're wrong. So, what we learned. This is both a design and logistical failure. On this last section, by the way. This is something we're trying to tackle in a variety of ways. The banner restricted announcement timing changing to be optimized for RCQs and widespread competitive play going forward is supposed to be the solution. That's ridiculous. While we can't guarantee we'll avoid bans in the future, you just said that's the solution is the bans. So what do you mean avoid bans? You just, whatever. We can take steps to make sure that they will do as little damage as possible for players who want to invest their time and energy into competitive formats. Let me stop you right there. 0.5% of the player base. 0.5%. 1 in 200 people is who you're catering to with this ban announcement. It makes a little bit of sense because modern players just abandon everything. They just self-police. They just say, okay, no cards older than this, or hey guys, keep the power level, under control. Only run decks from 10 years ago, whatever. Like, they don't let Hasbro run their life. Neither do Commander players. Y'all are losing your grip on everything. Like, there are so many play groups and even stores that said, okay, for like semi-casual F&M or whatever, we're gonna do Commander, but no fetching. You can't fetch anything but lands. No infinite combos, no tier 1. If you consistently win on turn 1 or 2, we're going to ask you to leave or switch your deck. And no dual partner commanders. They just make their own rules because WOTC is so bad at managing it. Now, WOTC doesn't manage the commander ban list, but they manage the playtesting and the printing of cards in Commander, which if you think about it, is an even worse combination because then they don't have an undo button. Although they did coerce the Commander committee into allowing their garbage uncards for either forever or a certain amount of time, or I don't remember how that went down. So on the inside, it's a combination of things. One, at a high level, we want to make sure that all relevant groups have time to impact change in a time window that makes sense for the project. I have faith that our current Nadu has been scrutinized while our contractors were actively playtesting. Okay, I was like, that doesn't make sense. I have faith that if the current Nadu had been scrutinized while our contractors were actively playtesting, things would have turned out better. So what, they just forget to? Like I said, hire better people who can work faster and who have unnatural brain designs that can do the work of a computer instead of a room full of 100 people. Like, it's just simple. 2, I'll be putting more effort towards being conservative if I can't draw clear conclusions. like this card is safe and won't interact with the other 80,000 unique cards in the game. As well as encouraging that behavior in others. Well, hire the right people. How about that? I didn't know that Shuko was powerful with Nadu. I keep saying it wrong. I don't know. Who knows? It's a made-up word. Sure, Nadu. Who cares? However, I was aware that I didn't fully understand the implications of Nadu's text box. You mean rules text? Look, does this guy know any terminology? Like, I've never even heard of this Michael person. Who even is he? Where did he come from? So that should have urged me to more aggressively seek others' opinions, because you suck at your job, and failing any strong conclusions to default to something I better understood. Clearly not magic. I was blinded by a goal, make something that's really awesome for somebody. Ultimately, nobody was happy. Clearly, this guy did not study like the last 20 years of Magic. Don't look back and say, that's a cool card idea. No, look back at all the failures. Who gives a shit about the successes? Nobody cares about popular cards. A monkey could design a popular card with an interesting new spin or some crazy new power level or some cool new ability, okay? That ain't hard. What you need to do is look at all the screw-ups, because for 100 perfect cards, 2 screw-ups will ruin an entire set. Let me cite my source on that. All 3 of the Modern Horizon sets. Nobody should be afraid of doing a mediocre or better job. You should be afraid of doing a disastrous job, and this was a disaster. Study every single failure. That's how building codes, fire codes, electrical codes, everything was formed, because look at this fire, what caused it? Look at this, what caused it? Look at this mass crowd stampede. Look at this crush. Okay, how many do we need? Let's get some autistic people in there to do some math and geometry and run the numbers, and okay, there we go. Cool. We need to do this. You don't learn anything by looking at this building and saying that was built well, cool. Look at the ones that failed. Look at the buildings that fell over. Look at the disasters. Look at the fires. If all you ever do is focus on the biggest disasters, you won't make them, okay? What's that quote about, like, look at your history or you're doomed to repeat it? Yeah, do that. It is so obvious that that is how you proceed with card design. Maybe a little more obvious to me than the average person, because I'm an autistic software engineer. Hire more copies of me, for God's sake. So that's it. That's the end of the article. What did I get from this? Here's how it happened. We're making excuses while putting flowery corporate language in about how we're so sorry. And then not promising it won't happen again, but say, well, we move the ban in case it does happen again, because it probably will, because read between the lines, I'm not good enough at my job. That's what I got from this. Wow, you guys weren't kidding. This is infuriating. Hire the right people, your product isn't good enough. The end. That's all there is to it. By the way, yes, background gameplay footage, absolute fire. Y'all want to see some live streams where I do this shit live and geek out and get weird as hell? Just start putting pictures of AI-generated cats on the screen for no fucking reason, other than I think it's hilarious? Turn on notifications, because your boy live streaming. Let's go. Do better, Michael Majors, or find people that can. I'll see you guys next video.